My name is Joshua, and I am the Tribune. Today, we need to talk about how God loves opulence. People don't really believe this. They know it in their subconscious, but they don't really show that they believe this in their daily lives or in their missions and their planning. They don't realize that our God is the most opulent ever. His taste is beyond anything we can ever imagine when we're talking about opulence. He loves beautiful things. Now, if we don't know this, how can we build with him? I mean, in this coming era. I'm not talking about things you've seen before. I'm talking about in this coming era. Because he is coming into a time where he is going to be building things that will astound people on the earth. Anything you've ever seen before that has ever been built is foolishness compared to what he's about to show that his taste is. This is the problem with even Christian entertainment. We don't like to present him as having wonderful, wonderful, beautiful taste. We want to present him as being very just quiet and humble and no, I'd like, just give me that rag and just throw it over my shoulders. No, that's not at all what he loves. And so builders need to understand this. Satan has put a strategy from long ago on this earth that convinces people that he loves beauty and he loves all this opulence and God does not, and he has better things. But really, his stuff is foolishness. I argue that any of Satan's children that have ever, in history, created things that are so awesome and amazing and beautiful, these things are God's gifts that are misplaced on the earth. They're totally misplaced, which means they were wasted. That's what that means. But now is the era that he is going to be getting all those wasted treasures. Everything that you can imagine. He is going to be gathering wasted treasures from all of history. And he is going to be combining them and building powerful, powerful things that will astound people. I'm talking about entertainments. I'm talking about buildings and architecture. I'm talking about transportation. I'm talking about art. I'm talking about music. Anything beautiful that has been wasted by Satan's children is free game for God's generals. Because these principles can be enhanced. They can totally be enhanced and put together to be heavenly. And the purpose of them is to show the world that our God is the best. That's what this is. So when we're creating with God and he's giving us blueprints, he's talking to us about what he wants to do in our lives and giving us strategies and saying, I want to create this with you. It's very important that we already have a system of obedience with him. You know why? Because he's going to be picking from things to show you strategies that you might think, oh my gosh, that person who did that was evil. That person, that's one of Satan's children who started that principle and did it. No. He said, I want that, everything. I want that, and that. Anything beautiful, I'll take it. And I'm going to transform it and make it even better. This is what's going to happen for these generals in this new era that's coming. So you can't go into working with God and think of it like, okay, I know, we're just gonna make things that are cliche, that people would look at and say, oh, that's Christian. No, absolutely not. They're going to look at the things that God creates with his generals and say, that looks familiar, but it's different and it's better. And I just can't put my finger on what. Who designed that? God. Now, he is unbiased when he's creating. He will pick from anything because everything's his. He doesn't care about that. You name somebody who you think is so wicked, and if they had anything that was beautiful, God will take that and enhance it and use it how it's supposed to be used. This is why we cannot be biased with our creativity with God, because we will not be able to fully create with Him. I argue that when God's creating with you and He's putting things together that are so beautiful, He will take from things that you might feel guilty about. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because other people think that the thing that you're using is connected with something that's bad. This leads me to another point. Only God says what shouldn't be used when you're working with God, because He knows the final result. He knows what He's building. He knows that by the time you guys finish, it will be a totally new package that nobody will even recognize, and that even if they do, they will say, "That's beautiful. Beautiful." And I actually make it my personal mission to, before I create new things, I want to make sure I gather up all of Satan's creativity that he squandered with these people and use that as a base to go way higher. Because I refuse for my children and my children's children to look back at history and say, how come all of the wicked people had the best architecture? Why is that? Why did they have the best designs for clothes? I don't want my children coming and saying, if God's so wonderful and so creative, then how come there's no powerful Christians who have the best ever? That infuriates me, and I refuse. I refuse. I will not live with that. My grandchildren will come to me and say, wow, God is so opulent and loves beauty so much, I can see it in the world. I can see that He is the best. Now, when I say that God takes from anything He wants, I'm not saying that He instructs us to copy. That would be so stupid. That wouldn't make any sense. What I'm saying is that people who are even not Christians, all throughout history, they do have gifts, but they misuse them. For example, the ancient Egyptians were genius builders. They were genius at putting things together and ordering, building cities, and the pyramids are still standing today, and we go actually look at these pyramids and admire them. And these are Satan's pyramids. The ancient Egyptians had the most beautiful headdresses and clothes. We are still fascinated with them today. We are still wearing jewelry with pharaohs on them, Can you imagine? But Pharaoh was God's enemy. Think about this. So why are we wearing pharaohs? And why are we idolizing their creativity? No. We need to get those principles that Pharaoh was using, enhance them with our God, and show that his creativity and their systems were foolishness compared to our God's wisdom in building. This is just one example of that. There's many examples. The ancient Romans had amazing uniforms. Oh my gosh, their armor's beautiful. But last time I recall, they were working for Satan. Yep, they were. No, that can't happen anymore. It's time for a new era. It's time to gather up all these things and bring them in and enhance them. Now, in order to do this, you have to be friends with God. You don't have enough wisdom to do what I'm saying to do. It's impossible for you to do it. You know why? Because you don't have the creativity for that. That's too much. Let alone the boldness to do something like that. In fact, if you do it wrong, that will destroy you, these principles. You have to go with God, and He will teach you how to do this principle. Now, one day I was thinking, I was like, I want to do some architecture. And that's what I feel like my heart is led to do. And I looked around the city and I thought, all these buildings are foolishness. Everything. There's not one piece of architecture that I'm like, oh my gosh, that's wow. Foolish. I started looking through history and thinking, there's some great buildings, but I need to find the best architect to study. And I found God. Because God is the best. I want to connect with a creativity that's heavenly. I want to connect with a strategy of building that no human could even imagine. This is very important for this coming era. Because we have to start proving that our God is better in all ways, especially entertainment. You know why? Because people are attracted to entertainment. Entertainment brings joy. So if we talk about our God being the ultimate joy giver, and then you look at entertainment and He's actually not leading in that field, there is a huge problem. So that has to be totally dealt with. And I'm talking to people today who are ready to deal with it, who are angry about that. And if you're not, He will use one or two. It doesn't matter how many. These things will be done. So it's important to remember God loves opulence. He really does. The reason why He had to come down or when we look at Jesus Christ, when you see Him and you think, oh my goodness, He was pretty much walking around in sandals, it's because the time. He's walking around and, who knows the robe? He didn't, there's nothing, he was just wonderfully dressed. No, because he had to blend in. Because that's the strategy that He had for His mission. To die for us and be raised from the dead, raise himself from the dead, come out with all power. But he loves beauty. So we shouldn't look at that and think, oh, because he probably wasn't in a palace when he came here, that means that he doesn't like that stuff. Any Christian who says and just believes things like that, what do you think heaven's going to be like? Do you read the Bible? That's my question. If not, you need to start reading it because you need to start seeing. Have you heard of Solomon's temple? Oh my. And if you don't think that God takes Satan's treasure and transfers it over to the kingdom and rebuilds everything into something new, where do you think the tabernacle, Moses' tabernacle, where do you think that all that gold came from? Where do you think that the jewels came from? What about the priest garments? They actually had gemstones embedded into the breastplate. Where do you think that came from? It came from Egypt, ancient Egypt. They plundered the Egyptians. All their idols, all their gold, all their silver got transferred over and melted down and turned into beautiful things for the Lord. So if we don't think that he's into doing that, we are totally fooled. And who has fooled us? The enemy. Because he doesn't want his stuff taken. But I'm here to tell you that we are going to take that stuff. We're going to melt that stuff down and build it up way better. This is what we're going to do. And nobody can stop it because this is the new era. Hail Jehovah.